Okay, so look at this post. Look at this post. This is a string of images on the subject of necessary challenges. So if you're into the self-motivation and self-growth kind of parts of the internet, like YouTube, where Jordan Peterson has his lectures, if you're a young man, you might listen to Andrew Tate, all that stuff. These guys have very clearly good suggestions on how to go about becoming a more happy and fulfilled person. But you have to realize that they're sorry, I'm trying to get back to the image I wanted to look at. That their advice is actually not especially brilliant or even novel. It's the same advice that's been passed down via the Bible and via many other written word over the years. The great philosophers like Nietzsche. My goodness, I'm struggling over here, guys. Struggling, trying to do too much at once. Down to the classic literature of the Odyssey and all of the great works of Roman and Greek literature, all those stories. It's always the same. It's always some protagonist has some enormously difficult challenge ahead of him, and he feels like the challenge is overwhelming, that there's no possible way that he can achieve it. But there's no way around it either. It's like you have to go through that overwhelming, daunting challenge because it's the only path forward. Or you either lay there dormant and not growing and atrophying. And so that's what this post was about. And I liked one of these images here. I want to try to find it. Blah, 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 blah. Expressing the sentiment that a life without challenges is not something to wish for, Seneca said. Seneca was one of the ancient philosophers. I judge you unfortunate because you have never lived through misfortune. You have passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you. So if you ever watch professional sports, this is very obvious where you had, I'm going to use a basketball example, and Michael Jordan playing basketball in the 90s, he would tell you that one of the reasons he got to be as skilled as he is in basketball is because he was playing against extremely skilled people like Charles Barkley and all these other, famous 90s basketball players. And if you follow bodybuilding, the Mr. Olympia Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia, he says openly he would not have achieved the physique that he did if it weren't for the number 2 in line, Kai Green, being right on his heels all 7 years of that training. So it is the challenge of either challengers, other people, or circumstantial challenges that force you to grow. And so if you see a challenge and your response is to avoid that challenge, then you're basically saying, I don't want to grow. And if that becomes habitual, where you kind of avoid all the big challenges in life because all of them just feel too stressful, you're content with the way things are, you end up with becoming this little fat slob right here. I shouldn't say little, this enormous fat slob right here, who is hooked up to an IV of Coca-Cola, shoveling down KFC, Krispy Kreme, McDonald's as his nutrients, hooked to a smartphone, or maybe it's a computer screen, or whatever other means of electronic entertainment, some kind of screen. Could be a TV binging Netflix, could be aimlessly scrolling social media. And then for all of your problems, whether it's your obesity or your poor mental health, you think you can solve those things by just getting a bunch of medication and shoving that into your body. So you're shoving this poisonous food, these poisonous medications, these poisonous drinks full of corn syrup, and you're spending all your time glued to a screen. And that's become basically the average American life at this point. It's pathetic. It lacks inspiration, even at the smallest level. It's just sadness. If you've seen the movie Idiocracy, this is what's happening in our country. People are content to just sit at home, glued to their screens, eating shitty food, on artificial medication, jerking off to Pornhub, watching the newest Marvel movies, spying on the rest of their friends digitally via social media, but not actually interacting with those friends. And by the way, I know I'm coming down hard on this lifestyle. As a transparent Christian who is very flawed myself, I succumb to this pretty frequently because it is hard. Like the temptations of convenience, that can turn into apathy very easily if you're not careful. Where it's like, it really is easier to just throw a pizza in the oven from the freezer rather than actually cook a healthy version of a pizza. You know, it's more engaging to sit here and watch a crime drama than watch some hour-long Bible special. But you got to choose. Do I want to learn? Do I want to become stronger? Or do I just want to be entertained and distracted? So those are my thoughts on this this sedentary lifestyle that has taken over our culture. Yeah, Harley says this is why men need God and a wife. Absolutely. They need both. They really do. This account, by the way, Recovering Overthinker, is a great account. Shout out to them if you ever just want some motivational stuff, especially if you're an overthinker, somebody who's introverted, who can kind of get lost in the rabbit hole of your own mind. That's a good account to give you some tips on not spiraling too bad.